So, you want to make some real estate moves?
Yeah, why?
You've come to the right spot. Welcome to Dallas-Fort Worth Real Estate 101, where we drop our drawers and tell all.
Oh, I like the sound of this.
School's in session.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dallas-Fort Worth Real Estate 101, where you can learn everything there is to know about real estate, whether it's buying, selling, investing, or you just want to find out what's going on with the market. We're going to have it all here, and it's going to be in small, digestible chunks. Right now, today, you've got me, your host, Tom Jung. I've got my own team, Tom's Texas Realty Group, and also, we're going to have guests on throughout the year. So we're going to have different realtors on, different professions, all kinds of stuff we've got lined up. Lots of good stuff here. So if you like what you hear today, please do hit that subscribe button, whether you're on Spotify, iTunes, or Google Podcasts. So with that being said, we're also on Tom's Texas Realty. If you want to dive around and search for some more information, a lot of good info on there. And if you want to reach out to us, you got a question, you can, of course, reach us through our website, but also facebook.com/Tom's Texas Realty. So now that I've got all my plugs in, let's jump into today's topic, which is earnest money and option money. So if you're looking to buy a house and you've already hired a realtor, they've probably talked to you about this. If they haven't talked to you about this, you may want to reconsider your realtor. So earnest money and option money are the two checks that you're going to write once you have a contract. Okay, so let's say that you're buying your first house, you go out, you've looked at 10 different houses, and the 10th one you said, oh my gosh, this is it, this is the one. So you go back, you go with your agent, you write a little contract, they put it together, there's probably a little back and forth negotiation, and then you sign off on it, sellers sign off on it. Awesome, you've got what's called an executed contract. So at this point, your agent's gonna look at you and say, I need two checks from you to solidify this contract. So the first one is what's called earnest money. So this is what tells the seller that you are in fact serious about buying their house, because you're about to tie their house up for the next 30 to 45 days while you go through the inspection, the lending process, all of that kind of stuff to get to the finish line. And so for that, this is a show of good faith. Now typically earnest money is about 1% of the sales price. So if you're buying a $300,000 house, you're stroking a $3,000 check. All right, so this check is actually held by the title company, so it doesn't go directly to the sellers. It's held in an escrow account. So depending on how the contract goes, let's say that for some reason the contract falls apart, that money will either go back to you or to the seller. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, so as not to confuse everybody here. But assuming the contract goes through, you close it in your 30 to 45 days, that money does apply towards your closing costs, your down payment, all of that kind of stuff. So that money's not just money that's lost, it actually goes towards your closing costs. So don't worry about that. Now, the option money, as it's called here in Texas, this is different in a lot of different states. It's called different things. Some states don't even have option money. But the option money gives you the option to inspect the house and cancel the contract for any reason and get that earnest money back. All right, so it's a very powerful tool that we have whenever you're purchasing a house, because obviously you haven't lived there for the last 10 years. You don't know everything about the house. You want to be able to check it out and do your due diligence. So option money is typically about $100. Now, when you go up in price, when you get 4, 5, 600,000 and up, a lot of times we'll see this be 2, 3, 4. I've even seen $500 for option money. Typical option period used to be 10 days. Now it's about 7. We've seen them as small as 3, and that's simply because we've been in a seller's market for the last few years. Now this, at the time of this recording, we're in May of 2020. We're still in a seller's market, but we're expecting a shift due to the coronavirus. So we'll see what happens. But right now, about $100 in 7 days is what you can expect. So that gives you an idea of the amount of money you're writing. Now that option check goes directly to the seller. They cash it. You're never going to see it again. It does apply towards your closing costs if you do follow through with the purchase of the house. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what happens with your earnest money if something on the contract falls apart. So there's all kinds of outs for a buyer in a contract. There's all kinds of outs for a seller in a contract. That's not true. Sellers have very, very few outs. So if something were to happen, so let's say that you are in the option period, let's say that there's some foundation issues, you want to have the seller pay to have those fixed, seller doesn't want to pay for it, you say, okay, that's fine, I'm not going to buy your house. At that point, you get the earnest money back. Now, let's say that you're buying the property, it's the day before closing, you've already been through your option period, and at that point, you guys agreed to repairs, you were committed. 2 days before closing, there's another house that pops up onto the market, and you're like, oh my gosh, that house is amazing, I want to go buy that house. Well, at that point, you're going to lose your earnest money. Now, in the instance, this is another thing that comes up, especially in a seller's market, if the house does not appraise. So let's say that you put a contract on a house for $300,000 and the appraiser says it's only worth $290,000, and so there's a $10,000 delta right there. So at that point, there's a whole nother negotiation. If you can't come to an agreement then, because you're already past your option period more than likely at this point, you can still get your earnest money back. So there's all kinds of different scenarios that can happen during a contract, and the most important thing is if, and this is where your agent should come in, but if you guys can foresee some of these things happening, you need to make sure that you understand how the contract is written, because a lot of the different outs that buyers have in the contract are time sensitive. So anyways, that is the difference between option and earnest money. I hope that has clarified some things for you. It may have also brought some new questions to light. And if you do have those questions, again, you can always find us. Easy way would be facebook.com/Tom's Texas Realty, or on our website. And as always, if you got a realtor, reach out to them. They should be able to answer all these questions for you. Thanks for watching today, and I hope again you guys will subscribe, and we'll see you on the next podcast.